All right, I'm getting back to it on this 1972 Ford F100, 240 cubic inch displacement engine. There's a lot that I got to change out on it. A lot of parts came in while I was gone offshore, so definitely this distributor will be coming out. And right now I got that carburetor being cleaned up in here. Disassembled it and get to it hopefully within the hour or two. But just a whole bunch of parts that came in. I will be doing a compression check on this truck. I mean, everything from water pump gaskets to fuel pump gaskets. Filters for the fuel, new alternator, starter. Even though I haven't done a compression check on this truck, maybe some of this might be a little too early to tell if the engine doesn't, if I don't get good compression from a cylinder or two. But regardless, I mean, it don't matter to me what it is. I'm gonna, if I gotta change out the head gas or pull the piston. But I got new water pump, new master brake cylinders, few brake lines, new spark plugs, wires. This is the distributor, the HEI that's gonna be replacing the one that's in there now. It's all electronic, so hopefully between this, my new spark plugs, should be doing okay. So I'll keep y'all in the loop on all this. And yeah, man, just wish me luck. Right. All right, one of the first things I'm doing my door switch here for the light that comes on in the cab. The last one I had was damaged and broken. So right now I'm just gonna file this one on up. I got my replacement, and I'll clean this up real good and throw my other switch and see if she works after I hook up my battery. All right, I got my new switch installed. It shouldn't matter which way this goes. This switch should just be just a continuity switch that allows these two pins, I guess, to get continuity between them and power back to that light. So I'll go ahead, I'll hook this up, then I'll hook up my battery. Just flip it on. If it goes on. Of course. I think that's on. This one pushing on pretty good, huh? When I got push the entire piece on. I don't even like how that this piece is working, to be honest with you. I push it in and don't even come all the way out. Cheap ass stuff. All right, let's go see. Battery hooked up. The light is on. The door is closed. That's not really how it's supposed to work. And that's exactly what it is. There we go. So, and out. Okay. They got loose wires right there. Something. It's not a good connection in the back. Now I got that light on. When I depress this, light's supposed to go off, and it is. But that wiring here in the back, as soon as I need to, it's very finicky. I need to do something with that. That's just me touching the wires there. Like I said, it don't matter which way this switch is. All right, and that's the door switch replacement. And I'll mess around with that more later. All right, so I kind of figured out what's going on with that light there and that switch. Hook that back up. So back in. So what's happening? Go in. Quit fighting. Making me look weak. Son of a gun. Stubborn devils. Goodness. Ugh. I'm gonna have to put you down. But anyway, what I found out, why whenever I close this door and that light stays on, well, I have a hole that lines up exactly with this. And I was wondering why the other switch had gotten broken off. This was the other switch. Why this piece had completely gone. Well, it gets hung up right on this hole. And it just rips it back out, as you've seen that in the previously. So I'm gonna do what any God-given American, I guess, would do right now, and use some duct tape. Put that over that. Future, I could spray paint that brand new, won't even notice, and hopefully it'll close that switch. And you know, it might put like 2 or 3 layers of duct tape there. So. But yeah, I guess that's been the issue with. That's why these have broken off. I'm about to start working on getting this distributor off right here. Just pop these clips off on each side. Take that cap off. And the firing order on this engine here will definitely be 1, 5, 3, 6, 2, 4. I mean, that was just the last number that was left. I didn't see it, but common sense tells me that, which isn't so common sometimes. But down here we have a 13 millimeter, and this just holds this entire thing in place. If you loosen that up, you can actually adjust your timing on this also. But this will be coming off. I'll be putting in my new one. In addition to that, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna actually remove the valve cover, and I'm gonna make sure 100% that I'm top dead center on my distributor whenever I install it here. That way there's no questions, and I will go ahead and I'll advance it just a little bit. From what I've been told, you can't try and go by the marks here on these Fords, on these engines, because they end up getting skewed, and it's not where it should be. So I'm not going to go by any timing marks there. I'm just going to do everything by looking at my valves in here, making sure that they're completely closed, top dead center whenever I get everything firing off my number 1 cylinder here. So I'll go ahead, I'll undo this with a 13 millimeter, move this baby out of here, install my other one. And actually, before I install that other one, I'll take off this cover and I'll actually try and run the oil pump and make sure that I am getting the oil all the way up to my valve cover area here. So hopefully that all should go well. Probably not, But here goes nothing. All right, I got all the bolts out of this valve cover, and took a little tapping all around. This thing hasn't came off obviously since the truck was made. I have to go around kind of tapping everything slowly. You can use this base as my pry bar. Now it's starting to come loose here. Kind of curious to see actually what it looks like underneath here. This will give me a good indication too. I'll be able to see all my valves. Make sure everything's operating right. I mean, nothing sounded wrong whenever I was turning her over by hand, or even whenever she went to fire up that last time I did her. So I'll go ahead, I'll remove this valve cover. Oh, let's see what we got under here. Oh yeah, she's oily, I can tell you that. But I got a new valve cover gasket too that I wanted to put on. Whenever I look around everything here, see how gummed up all that is. I guess it could always be worse. It could always be worse. Everything seems to be operating nicely, but I'm gonna find out here whenever I take this cover off. But I think just once I get this vehicle back up and running, and I make sure that all the cylinders are good and everything's running, I think more than likely this is just from not being ran enough or being ran very short runs, right? So everything looks okay. I'll turn this engine over by hand. I'll be watching these valves, and like I said, I also still working on getting this one out, pull it, and I've already changed the oil in here, so whenever I do, I'm gonna start turning the oil pump. We should see oil making its way to the top here. All right, so I got the valve cover off, and just to show you, when this engine turns over, as I'm looking at it, the engine spins clockwise. So whenever I rotate the camshaft here, this is how the point system wants to move. So whenever I do put my drill on this and I go to operate the oil pump, I will be going clockwise, and should see some oil start coming around here. It shouldn't be no heavy spray or anything, but hopefully I see something coming up, so at least I know that these are all getting lubricated. But overall, I've been turning this engine over and watching all of my valves and everything actually looks, for the most part, really good. So you do have a lot of sludge buildup, and I think all that will be rectified once I actually drive this truck, and I'm actually gonna run it really good. And I think you say a lot of this can occur more or less because of cheap oil and short drives and stuff like that. But overall, this engine turns over good. It feels like it has good compression, but I'll find out for sure whenever I get a gauge and everything. So right now I'm gonna work on taking this distributor out and attaching my drill to the rod that goes down to the oil pump, and we'll see what happens from there, whether I get something here or not. All right, so back to this distributor. I did take it out, and I have to say, man, that thing was difficult. I don't know whether you have to, as you're taking it out, try and spin it on up because of the gears that are right here, and then there, all the way down there, right? I'm gonna touch my oil pump. But you see that other gear in there that meshes with this one right here. Man, I had an extremely hard time just getting this thing out and prying it straight. I mean, I had pry bars on each side, and you can see, look, I broke the side off there. I was kind of scared I damaged something. I don't think I did, but that was a hard task in itself, and a little scary. I mean, it was in there normal, didn't do nothing special. I even checked to make sure. There's this little, it looks like almost like a little set screw right there, but it's nothing. It's just a round. There's nothing, you can't get no Allen key or anything in there. Whenever I look in here, everything's nice, flush. And there's nothing here. Nothing here that would hold that in place. The only thing that holds that in place is the key that kind of holds this down. But I finally got that out the way, and I started working on that oil pump, and kind of came up with this. This is the original. It's like an Allen key in itself that goes down there. And I've been running this for a while, and I mean, you don't see there's no like spray or anything like that. But once I get it set in there, and you don't want to go too fast with this, like if you move the pump too fast, it'll actually start, even on this, I can hear it start clicking on back because it's too much torque. It's pumping too fast. And I was trying to see where the oil comes out of, and what it looks like after I've been going a while. I've been see the oil filling up right on the top of the lifters. Not in all of them, but and they keep on turning it. I'm just going about real fast. Like I said, if you kind of start to speed up too fast, it won't let you. It's too much back pressure, I guess, on it. But if you look, I mean, the oven's about to start dripping right there, which is a good sign on some of them. But I guess come up from here, drip on down, and I get it. I mean, as everything's moving in here, everything's gonna get lubricated, but hopefully as this engine gets ran, all this crud and stuff will end up clearing itself. So not all of them are, I don't see oil coming to every single one here. But just so y'all see what I'm doing and what I'm trying, I'll keep on with the good fight. All right, now I got it. Now I believe each and every single rocker on. I got oil coming on. See these holes right here. Before I was having a problem with this one. I think this is the exhaust cylinder one. But what I did is I took my Canon WD-40 and stuck it in this hole and just sprayed the heck out of it. And then I came back, ran this oil pump. I let it kind of sit there for a minute, and it's actually coming out now. And I mean, take everything what I'm telling you with a grain of salt, because I am by far no expert, and I do everything just kind of on the go and from what I see, and hopefully just things that I see here and I can pass on to people who don't know or just have the same questions I do. So hopefully me recording all this, because I had read before some people asking which way to turn your oil pump. And to me that was kind of common sense. It's like, well, look which way your engine here is spinning, and then see which way the rotor's spinning. But somebody was talking about turning this oil pump the other way, counterclockwise, and I was like, okay, well that don't make no sense to me whenever I came here. So it's obviously for this 240 engine, clockwise is putting out the oil pump is working. Because obviously the other way, you can hear whenever I went the other way, and it sucked on air, and then I went back clockwise. So just a little FYI for y'all, but it seems all of them now are getting oil, so that's a very good thing. So I'll be moving on here shortly to a compression test on this engine. I have my compression tester hooked up to cylinder 1. Took all the spark plugs out, all the other ones. I don't have to worry about opening up my throttle or anything. My carb is completely off. So I'll work my way 1 through 6, and let's see what we get on this first one. Screw here. Not too bad with that. Looks like close to almost 130 right there. And I'll make a recording of all of these. I'll take it. It's actually not too bad there. So considering how old this engine is. So like I said, I'll continue to make my way 1 through 6 here. All right, so the results from my cylinders, 1 and 2 had between 125 and 130. Cylinder 3 actually had 150 psi. 4 and 5 between 120 125, and then over on 6 she was only getting 95 on my first try, 100 on the second, and then I added a little bit of oil to the cylinder, and I came up with 120 psi. So yeah, I mean, I guess the rings on the pistons aren't the best in the world, and probably a combination of that, and I'm pretty sure the valves also. But I'm still gonna push forward on everything. That doesn't, I mean, it could always be a lot worse. Hopefully over time, maybe it'll get better. As it runs, gets clean oil, maybe they'll clean up those valves and those will seal better. I would have to do a leak down test to know exactly, well, to know if it is also coming from our lifters and valves in here. Because everything else seems okay. I'm sure there was a leak somewhere in any of the exhaust or intakes that it would reflect on the others. So my guess obviously is yes, the piston rings and then the valves. But, I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna install some new spark plugs. I don't know what the torques are on them, so I'm just gonna do around 10 foot-pounds and see how she does with that. I don't know if to get started on installing this HEI distributor. It does line up. I measured them. They are the same length. One thing I wanted to get right on is I was reading online, somebody, when they took their distributor and this piece right here, they didn't know which way it went. Well, that little spring washer on the top, that goes up inside your distributor, and the smooth side here goes down inside your oil pump. Just FYI. So man, I'm gonna lube this up really well, lube that O-ring. I'm gonna lube all in there really good, in hopes that this thing goes in a lot smoother than this thing came out, because that really had me worried. But once I get that all installed, I'll go and I'll test all those spark plug wires. I'll make sure that they have the same ohms and everything to them, And if any of them are different, then I'll swap them out with something. But that way I could get everything kind of routed and looking good, and maybe next move on to installing a new fuel pump. So, and I'll let y'all know how to put it in. There is a technique, and you do have to rotate your engine a certain way to get it in. All right, I got a new HEI distributor, new spark plug wires. Here goes nothing. Firing every time, man. Good sign. Alright, well, I ran out of starting fluid. This is just temporarily. A little bit of brake cleaner left. It's probably even more flammable than starter fluid. I won't show that. All right, as you seen previously on the other video, this truck does want to fire up. Even afterwards, I got some brake fluid cleaner and sprayed it in the carburetor area, well, in the intake right here. And man, I actually had this engine running probably almost about 10 seconds, just constantly spritzing it. But to kind of give you a rundown on what I did on the HEI distributor and everything, because you got to get everything top dead center with cylinder one. Make sure all your spark plugs are firing in the right order. And on top of that, some people are taking, on their last distributor, there's 12 volts that run into it. Some people are taking that wire and connecting it directly to that. I would not recommend that. That is like I think it's a 14 gauge wire that runs to here. And right now, I actually have a 10 gauge wire that I put in line. I'm using that 12 volt wire that was originally going to my distributor. It's basically running to this relay. And you got to check on that wire that runs to your distributor. You got to make sure that whenever your key is just on the ACC, that you're getting 12 volts, and when you try and crank it over, that it's also getting 12 volts. To do that, I had disconnected my starter, and I was getting 12 volts either way. So as soon as that key comes on, what I have here is, I bought a new solenoid, but I have ground running to here, to the frame body, and that's also running back to the battery. But the 12 volts power that was coming originally from the distributor is right here. Okay, so basically these two on the outside, which is 85 and 86, 85 and 86, It doesn't matter which way you put it. You can put your negative over here, your positive over here, or whatever. But basically that clicks that relay over. And I have 12 volts coming straight from the battery. I have it connected on this side of the solenoid. 12 volts runs into number 30. And then my output on 87. All right, so 12 volts from the battery will only get there, and I have a fuse in line. And this is on the 10 gauge wire. This is a 30 amp, a 12 volt relay. And with the new one, everything that was going to it, how it was on the old one, I just put it exactly like it was, which is, I mean, very, very simple. But getting back to working this on top dead center, since I had my valve cover off, basically you have to watch. If you take off your valve cover, it's I would recommend it's the way to go. And not only that, but you actually learn something. If you start understanding how an engine works, right, on your compression stroke and on your whenever it does exhaust and intake, I believe this is the intake, this is the exhaust. And if you ever watch a video on how a piston operates, you can even just go by, obviously, yes, coming up top dead center, but also kind of watching how your valves are operating, right? Because your intake is going to operate whenever that piston is going back down, right? Because it wants to suck in that air fuel mixture. Okay. Your exhaust should work where when your piston is coming back up after it has fired, then your exhaust will open up that valve to allow everything out. And during that's how I kind of found where my top dead center was. All I did, I just literally took my dipstick, put it in the #1 spark plug, found my top dead center by using my valves. And also on top of that, there's some marks right here. And this is actually my 0. There's a little mark right here, but that one didn't line up. There was another mark exactly like it further down that lines up with my top dead center. So basically, that little notch that's further down, I put even with 0, and it was pretty much spot on with where I thought this was top dead center. So I actually used that, and I brought it back some. What I thought was, actually brought it back to 10 degrees. And I lined up my #1 spark plug in correlation with how the rotor inside was pointing. So that right there, it should be 10 degrees before top dead center. And this thing fired off, and I was super excited on that. So, but that's a quick rundown. I'm up and installed the fuel pump. I'm working on that carburetor, getting it really clean. So that'll be my next mission. Okay, I'm getting ready to install the fuel pump on my 1972 Ford F100 240 cubic inch displacement, 3.9 liter inline 6 engine here. And I'm not gonna spend too much time on this, make it real quick. What I see the easiest way is rotating your engine right here until that cam lobe in there. Let's see if I can get some lights. If you're looking in there, you turn your engine, that cam lobe will rise and then fall, right? Just because of how it's made in there. And obviously you want to shine your flashlight in there, and you bring that to the lowest point. And mine, I think it's somewhere like, I You can see it comes from the right, about that level. And so when it gets down low as possible, and that's whenever you just throw on your fuel pump, throw it in, tighten up your bolts, make sure you got your gasket on and everything, then Bob's your uncle. So that should be pretty simple and straightforward. All right, the fuel pump now installed on here, and it's almost as easy as what it seems and what I had said. Even though you get your cam load the lowest that it can go, you still have to kind of force the lever on this up. Like once you have that in and it's on the cam load, you do have to kind of force it down and push on that spring to get these poles to line up. But it's not much. You just can't be a girly man about it. And if you can do that, then you should be okay. And I torqued these down. I don't know what these are. 7 foot-pounds felt good to me on it. I didn't find that they needed much. I tightened those down first by hand, and then I came back with a torque wrench and slowly walked it up until I just felt comfortable with it. So 7 foot-pounds on these bolts is what I did. I don't know what they are. All I got left is throwing in the carburetor right now. All right, right now I'm working on getting the fuel pump here primed along with the carburetor. That's my carburetor back on. Hopefully the brass float in there works for me. Seemed like it was one to get hung up a lot, but I guess we'll find out here shortly. I can blow through the needle and seat, so it should be sitting down right now, so I should be able to fill that bowl. And like I said, right now I'm just working on getting the fuel pump primed. I'm turning it over by hand, and unfortunately I'm just succulating on this end a little bit to help it on through, and once it does get through, I'll just keep on operating my engine by hand, just to flush on this line right here. That's the original line that went to this fuel pump, just to clear it out. Make sure there's no gunk built up in it. I sprayed it out with air already, so do that. Once I get that clear, I'll attach it into my carburetor here and get a few little things set and wish for the best. All right, rebuilt my carb. Hopefully that's good. Never done it before, but God gave me 2 hands. Fuel make it happeners in. Just sucking from my gas can right now, and I got my truck hooked up to the battery, so if this does fire off, I can keep this truck running and kind of let her blow up some steam there and see how she sounds. So I don't know, here goes nothing. talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Ah! Awesome. Awesome.